Yes, he
Donnybrook is made possible by the members of the 9 Network.
Well, thanks for joining us for another edition of Donnybrook. Yes, because of the convention this week and next, our schedule is a little off, so we thank you for your flexibility. But good to have you with us as we talk about the issues affecting the St. Louis region. And let's meet the panelists, starting with the news director for the Big 550 KTRS, Wendy Wiese, along with Bill McClellan from the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. From the Riverfront Times and KTRS, Ray Hartmann, and Alvin Reid from the St. Louis American, 590 AM and 97.1 FM News Talk. And we're going to start with you, Alvin Reid, because the auditor for the state of Missouri released what I think is a blistering report. Let me correct myself. She didn't release it. She sent out a draft to the county council, and then it was leaked to the media. But it determined that, among other things, the county executive for St. Louis County would sit on contracts and they would never be enforced or go into action because no one signed them. There was no oversight by the county council of Northwest Plaza, that the personnel division for St. Louis County does not check out the qualifications and the certifications of appointees. In addition to that, some salaries seem to be a little too high. There are no job descriptions or duties explained for appointees to St. Louis County. And overall, the county auditor himself, Mark Tucker, is not doing any audits. Other than that, governance looks great. Alvin, what do you think?
Well, I think I agree with you, blistering. And the important part of this and why it is so essential was many of us who live in the county and elsewhere said, like, look, you've got people telling us how horrible, Steve Stenger was, and they were running for office on it, and they didn't do anything about it. And they were told, they were warned by the Post-Dispatch and other publications, and Alvin Reid, going back to when he first ran, that this guy is trouble. And so Nicole Galloway verified what many entities and many people were saying, and that Sam Page and others shouldn't just be excused because, like, I'm here to clean the mess up. You were part of the mess. And that's very, very important. And it should ring with, St. Louis Countyans, especially with all that's going on in the county, which is a mess right now, that, you had some forewarning that those involved other than Steve Stenger were also responsible. Now he's the henchman. Don't get me wrong. He deserved everything he got. But hey, a lot of people said, like, oh, I cleaned it up, but they were part of making the mess in the first place.
Well, there's some truth to that because Sam Page, the county executive, did rubber stamp or approve, I should say, the Northwest Plaza deal, which turned out to be a bad deal for the county. And he did get $5,000 from the Garner brothers, the developers, although that's really never made public. Sorry, Wendy.
No, that's all right. I mean, I thought that Winston Calvert's response was politically astute. We'd like to thank the state auditor, Nicole Galloway, for pointing out all of these shortcomings and give us something to strive for. I mean, it's just right out of the political playbook. But Tim Fitch has continued to try to get anybody's attention as recently as the Federal CARES Act and giving Sam Page ultimate power over all of those federal CARES dollars for COVID relief, but they're not making the changes that they need to make, clearly.
Well, the fact that the county auditor never does any audits, is not an accountant or a CPA, and was put in by Sam Page when Sam Page was on the county council. That part just really kind of blows my mind that they have an auditor who doesn't ever do audits.
But we knew that. I mean, I guess I
know we did.
No, I think right. That Alvin's right. First of all, the parties criticized definitely included both county executive Steve Stenger and county executive Sam Page. I suspect Stenger's taking it a little better in South Dakota because it didn't really add much to his resume. And it did point out, I think the bigger question in a lot of people's minds is the timing. And I know there are people,
Yes.
Fitz was on the show with me, questioning how did this happen to come out after the election rather than before the election. I personally think it's hard to put that on Nicole Galway because A, it was leaked, and B, we don't know the protocols. Normally when a state auditor sends a draft out, the locality has some time to respond. I think.
No, I love you, Ray, but if these were Republican hijinks, you would. I don't think you'd be quite so patient with the process.
I think there are questions to be asked on the Democrats on the county council. I mean, for sure.
Well, there's questions to be asked of Nicole Galloway, right?
Maybe,
I mean,
but
it just seems coincidental that this comes out after the primary.
Maybe. I just said we don't know the timing of it. I mean, we don't know how the process goes.
I know, but we have to accept that it's coincidental.
Auditors don't generally leak their audits before the parties they've audited have reviewed.
Well,
that's
Ray,
when they're
let
a
me ask
Democratic
you,
candidate, and it's a Democratic.
By the way, as far as Alvin's right, for the 62%, I don't think it affected the outcome of the election, by the way, because I think there's 62% of us that didn't vote for Sam Page. And I don't know that there was enough in this that really would have affected the outcome of the election.
Well,
but I think it really, I love the point. I'm sorry, to Alvin.
Now, hang on.
That's for the voters to decide.
For the auditor of St. Louis County, population 1 million, and the economic center of the state, not to have audits in compliance with auditing standards, that is a huge problem. I mean, give me a break.
He shouldn't be there.
He shouldn't be there. Now, Ray, also, after the primary, the head of diversity, equity, inclusion for St. Louis County was fired. She's Hazel Irby, and she was replaced by Kenny Murdoch, who works for the NAACP and was also a paid campaign staffer for Dr. Sam Page. You're the guy who gave us that story first in the Riverfront Times. What's your take on it?
Well, Sam Page has the right to hire and fire who he wants in that position. I personally thought that Hazel Irby should have been given a much fairer consideration for the position of interim county executive on April 29th, 2019, and I still feel that way. I think Hazel Irby expressed what I've heard many women of color express, is they don't feel that Sam Page has the commitment to them that he says he does. And she expressed it in rather sharp terms and about as directly as you can yesterday on her Twitter account.
Well, when Sam Page kind of bought Hazel Irby's support way back when she was contesting for county executive and he got it, she didn't question his support for women then when he gave her a big position and a huge raise. I mean, I don't find, and I find it another coincidence that Sam Page does this right after the primary. You know,
well, and that we've learned that Keith Wildhaber has now reversed his decision to jump ship, and now he's getting back involved with diversity and inclusion. And you've got to wonder if those two events are connected somehow.
Well, the email that was out there where Hazel Irby said, in reality, I really don't want to be in the mix of minority contracting. I got the sense, and I don't think any of us really know what that political relationship is about or anything like that. But I will tell you this. So I've been in this position before, and you guys probably have too, where, hey, all right, so you didn't get the managerial job, but you got the third base coach job. But all you want to do is complain about your job being the third base coach and not doing a good job of it. Well, guess what? My alternative is to say, like, let's just go find another job, okay? And I think there is some thinking here that we are where we are. I won the election. You're in this job. Do your job, as Bill Belichick always says. And I just don't think the job was getting done. And that email that said, like, I really don't want to be mixed up in the MBE contracting and all that, it's her job. So I don't know, but I got a feeling that this one might have been justified. I'll just leave it at that.
I don't know. As I said, I think he has the right to do what he wants in terms of hiring people. I know Hazel Irby was involved. I got a fly attacking me, really attacking me. I think Hazel Irby. I remember in that it was, I think it was in the American, that when that I think it was she was involved, where there was clearly, you could, without her wanting to criticize him openly, they, when he, that morgue, the county morgue contract,
County morgue, right? Yeah.
went all to, you know, big contract, and there was no minority participation.
Right.
You know, I don't. You, she clearly made an effort for that to be something other than what happened, and so
Good point.
I wouldn't put it on
that one.
I
Yeah.
think to put this
Okay.
on her is unfair.
Elsewhere in the county, Wendy, it's been announced that because of lack of money, at least that's what the suggestion is, police officers will either have to lose about 100 in their ranks, or they'll have to forego pay raises. This just a couple of years after we passed Prop P, the increase in the sales tax, so that we could fund 2 police officers per car and give them salary increases. What's going on here?
Well, I think, in a word, speaking of Prop P, pandemic. I think that's what's going on. Sam Page said at his press conference that the Prop P sales tax revenues were absolutely devastated because of the pandemic, and that he had asked all county departments to look at varying degrees of cuts. And I don't know that even with Prop P, that we can expect that the police department in St. Louis County will be unscathed. As much as I wish that were the case, that doesn't seem realistic.
Again, this is information that came out after the primary election. Does anybody think that this is payback for the police who supported Mark Mantovani?
No, I think the Wendy's right. I mean, when you have a pandemic, I mean, look at our industry. People are being put on furloughs. They're being cut. I mean, you can't pretend that, well, everything is as normal. I mean, I don't think it's strange. It's sad that right after the citizens supported Prop P a couple years ago, we're doing this, but there is a pandemic, and there's just not money there.
Well, I agree with you, Bill, but if I were county executive and not Sam Page, but just I found myself in a situation like this, one of the first things I would say is, like, I'm not reducing the number of police officers. Okay, that's not happening. So either we find the money for the raises, or they don't get a raise. I just unilaterally say it's not an either or. You're not getting a raise, but in return, nobody's getting laid off. And in fact, if somebody leaves our police department, we're hiring somebody else. I leave the police department alone as far as their personnel is concerned. This either or these ultimatum things, why are we here? Find the money, you know, and you know.
Well, you have to remember, though, the increase in wages that the police were expecting, that was a negotiated deal. I mean, the county had said, yes, we'll give you this much. So, I mean, it is really a difficult thing.
I agree, but I'm just saying, like, the words reduce the police force would never come out of my mouth, be it
I understand that.
before the election or after the election. That's out. That's not happening.
Charlie, as to your point about election timing, it's so speculative, you know, to say, well, it's payback. I think that's a little strong. Obviously, no elected official is going to want to announce 2 weeks before the election that they're cutting cutting police officer salaries. They don't want bad news to come out. And back to the audit thing, the people that with the audit, an auditor is damned if they do, damned if they don't. If they come out 3 weeks before the election with an audit, everybody says, oh, they were out to get the incumbent. So, I mean, there's no real right way to interpret those.
Well, how about
you can read too much into time? Now, obviously, like a case like Hazel Irby, it's pretty clear that it's no coincidence that he waited to after the election.
Let me ask you this. Do you think it was a coincidence that Lisa Clancy, who is championing this half-cent sales tax for early childhood education, and according to emails released this week, had been working on it with a group called Ready by 5 and another group called Ready by 21 since the spring, didn't announce it? Wendy Wiese, I think we're going to go to you on this one. actually Bill McClellan. It wasn't announced till after the primary. Just a coincidence?
No, no. And I'm a person who a week ago or 2 weeks ago on this show said, hey, I support that idea. And I feel a little betrayed. And I think that citizens do too, to find out that this was kept under wraps for a long time and isn't exactly what we believed in. I mean, I thought, oh, childhood education makes sense, but there's other things in this proposal. I mean, now I think it's a bad idea and it needs the light of air.
Bill, sometimes kids go swimming in the storm creek, and some of the money would have gone there.
Alvin's, actually, folks, it turns out that wastewater treatment was part of the same bill. That's what Alvin is referring to.
Thank you, John.
I said last week,
That's well stated.
I personally said you fund it by eliminating the zoo tax. It shouldn't have been passed because there's got to be a look at the overall impact of the county sales tax continuing to go up, which is a regressive tax. And I was disappointed because I'm like, Bill, if it's just daycare, that's one thing. To find out there's other things in it. And again, there are, of course, obviously the timing questions involving it. It's a little disappointing, quite frankly. And the other thing, and Rita Her Days made this point, and Rita Her Days on the air said that she regretted her vote now. Actually, and I thought it was impressive. Not just walked it back. She actually said she regretted her vote to allow the CARES money to be overseen, to not get county council oversight. That was that 4-3 party line vote. Oh. She said specifically she had that one to do again. She'd vote differently. And she's concerned now, after that, as she feels that the money hasn't gone to North County properly. And with regard to this sales tax, she wants to see some oversight. So that was.
I think that's appropriate. But the problem is, the county council is, given that up. And with regard to the early childhood education, it sure looks like some of the people with these organizations were acting like lobbyists, but not registered as lobbyists. I think that there's more to the story. Although Lisa Clancy did withdraw this, and she says she might come back with it to put it on the November ballot at another time.
Okay, well, hey, Rita Days, that water is so far under the bridge, it's in the Gulf of Mexico. And Lisa Clancy is like one of those, there's that name again. I mean, she pops up once a month, and like I said earlier, it's a mess. So okay, just drop it and keep it dropped, Lisa.
Wendy Wiese, over the weekend, downtown St. Louis, where you and I worked for years. I'm still down there, and Ray, you worked down there. Bill as well. It turns out that two members of the Channel 4 staff, Laura Hediger and Paige Halsey, tweeted that the only scary part of their day is when they're driving to One Memorial Drive to work for Channel 4. This was the day after a young woman was killed by a driver who was speeding down Washington Avenue. And then Brad Waldrop, who's a local parking lot owner, released all sorts of videos that he took of people driving around downtown, acrobatic use of their automobiles, donuts in parking lots, firing shots near Ballpark Village. It just looked like chaos. The mayor said it won't be tolerated, but Chris Summers, the owner of Pie Pizzeria with a great restaurant in downtown St. Louis, said, "Where are the patrols?" What do you know about this story?
Well, it's apocalyptic, isn't it? I mean, it really does seem apocalyptic. I can't think of any other word. But if you remove tourism, if you remove the underpinning of downtown in summertime, which of course is the baseball team, you certainly don't have the police presence. You don't have the manpower, woman power to put these police officers down there. This kind of thing, I think, is almost unavoidable. This young woman lost her life in this accident that involved a high rate of speed. We clearly need somebody, and we from time to time we talk about the National Guard. Anything would be better than what we have right now, because we are so past the point of an emergency situation in downtown St. Louis. I don't know what kind of tragedy is awaiting around the bend in order to get some action on this.
Well, the other scary thing is, Jimmy Edwards, the Department of Public Safety head, said, well, we just don't have the patrols for this. And I thought it's like we're surrendering the city, the downtown. We're giving that up. I found it bizarre.
Right. Well, we had Bob Clark on last week, and Michael Neidorff has made statements about what St. Louis needs to do. These multi-millionaires, if you want to do something, create and just fun. You could do it through the police. Memphis does it. I've said this on the show many times. Have an entertainment district police force. And basically, yeah, they're armed and they're police officers, but there's just 3, 4, 5 on them of every corner. And then you don't have a problem. Find the money to pay these individuals when they're off duty or they're former police officers, not that they got convicted of crimes or anything like that, but just take charge of it. And that's the point I'm making. This is where the mayor has really fallen off in the city of St. Louis. We tell the state that we're the economic driving engine of the state, and that's the entire kind of like our region. Well, the mayor can say to the city of St. Louis, the driving force behind any success the city of St. Louis has is downtown. And we have to protect downtown. It has to be safe. It has to be generating millions and millions and billions of dollars. And at the rate we're going, it's going to be producing zero because, like the word is, it's just mayhem down there. By the way,
but in a pandemic, how are they going to generate? I mean, you've had restaurants closing by on the hour almost. How are we going to generate the money to support what you're talking about, Alvin?
Well,
I think it's a great idea.
Just if Michael Neidorff and Bob Clark together put $5 million together, how many hourly wages is that? That would probably be 6 months of an entertainment district police patrolling from Washington Avenue back to the stadium. And if you want to say that's elitist, I will live with that. But you got to protect that precious piece of land out there. And
I think it's a little. First of all, the problem in the police department, there's a lot of folks in North City and South City, for that matter, that are feeling they've been abandoned in the way that Bill described downtown. And as somebody, it breaks your heart. I started the RT in '77. For 18 years downtown, it was the safest place in St. Louis, crime rate wise, and it most certainly is not now. I think it's a broader topic. I think that the police department owns this. There's been a lot of talk blaming Kim Gardner for all this, and it's clear that we got to walk and chew a whole bunch of different kind of gum at the same time. Perhaps something like Alvin's suggesting is one solution. I don't think we should give up on some of the criminal justice reforms that the rest of the country seems to think are appropriate in policing. I think also we ought to have a police board. I had assumed when we got local control that we would have one. That's not going to fix all the problems. But the system we've got now, with this just being a department of the mayor's office, is not working. And I don't know if you can.
Are you saying that we should further hamstring the police that we don't even have?
Further hamstring in what way? No, I mean, do I think that we should have? Do I think we need to do things in criminal justice reform along the Black Lives Matter?
You know what happened, right?
Yes.
Remember
I do.
when there used to be police
I don't think
chases?
it's hamstringing police, by the way.
There used to be police chases, and we were all upset with them. So they changed the department policy. You can't chase unless a felony was committed. And so now these guys are driving around, and they know the police won't chase them. And I don't know what the police are supposed to do.
Oh, no, all I'm saying is, all right, let's just stop people driving 60 miles an hour down Washington Avenue and Broadway, firing guns up in the air. Now, that can be solved just by having bodies in the street. You know,
Alvin, let me ask you this. Speaking of law and order,
of the city's crime
the McCloskeys from the Central West End, Portland Avenue, are going to be speaking at the Republican National Convention next week. Is that going to hurt the reputation of the city of St. Louis?
Well, ours, if you're just like pretty much beaten down in the street already, but no, this looks bad for us. I know there are people across the country that say, yeah, McCloskeys and all that, but us being here, not good. And I do want to point out, as Charles C. McCluskey, LLC, attorney from Town and Country, pointed out to me, let's make sure we always say this is the one Portland place McCloskeys, because they share the same name and they are viewers. So it's like, keep up the good work on Donnybrook. But anyway, pointed out, when we talk about the McCloskeys, there are other people named McCluskey and at least one law firm. So And that was not any kind of threatening letter. That was just a nice letter. But anyway, look, hey, these are the Portland Place McCluskeys. It's embarrassing. Please go away. And I would have told Kim Gardner, don't charge them because this will end up with them being on national TV and further embarrassing the place. Okay. Just please go away.
I think Kim Gardner did the right thing by charging. We'll let the system play out. Joel Schwartz is one of the best attorneys in town representing them. I think they're an embarrassment. I don't think, given, as Alvin suggests, given the overall image issues we got, I don't think it's going to move the needle that much. I think they're embarrassing, but I think and they sit that they're picked because they symbolize something that the Donald Trump campaign most definitely
Well,
wants.
our criminal justice reform race seems to be very heavy on show trials, like, Eric Greitens and now the McCloskeys, and very light on what most of us are most concerned about, like giving up downtown. And so I don't think Kim Gardner should have charged them. And I do think it'll make St. Louis, people are going to say, what are you doing? Who are these people?
I agree.
Well, they're not there because they got charged. They're there because they're folk heroes.
No. If they had not been charged with a crime, this whole thing would have gone away. Right. It would be over. This would be over.
So. I disagree.
If Kim Gardner had not charged them with a crime, this would be over.
They were a national lead news story before they were
it
tried.
would be over.
Yeah, this is Second
once
Amendment.
they were charged, that's when Donald Trump jumped in.
Yes,
so
and the
he would
governor
have been happy
and everybody
to have
else.
them. Look, if they had been let go, they would have still been folk heroes.
I disagree totally. Kim Gardner gave this legs. Whether she's right or wrong, she gave this legs.
They're the poster children for those who support the Second Amendment, and there are a lot of people who don't think that that's an embarrassment.
When Kim Gardner charged them, that made their status bigger than their law firm and bigger than their jobs. They would have gone back to work, and we would have gone back to normal if they had never been charged. A big mistake for the city of St. Louis. I'm not arguing the legality. I'm saying that was a big mistake for St. Louis in this region.
It's a bigger mistake to let them get
that brings an end to this conversation. I'm sorry, Wendy and gentlemen, we're flat out of time. But I want to thank everyone for joining us for this edition of Donnybrook. We'll be back next week. Don't forget to keep it on the 9 Network.
Donnybrook is made possible by the members of the 9 Network.